Victoria here from Better Bedtime Stories. Today I'm talking with Roni from Plan to Eat. We talked about the best gift you can give any new parent, which is not new clothes or games or toys or whatever. It's just some peace of mind. Meal planning is something I started to implement in my own home. It's still too soon to tell if it's working or not, but I can already see how much less time I spend on thinking about food, which is pretty great. I really hope you enjoy this conversation. I sure wish I heard it before my son was born. Thanks for listening.
Well, meal planning to me, it means basically getting your brain back. You know, there's a lot of mental freedom that comes when you plan anything ahead, I think. But because food is something that, most people eat somewhere around 3 times a day. And so it's, food is often something that we are thinking a lot about. We have other people who are thinking about food and then maybe asking us about food, right? Like there's always this question of what's going to be for dinner tonight. And so when you plan ahead and you create a meal plan, you just kind of get some mental space back. And it kind of like frees up your brain. It frees up your life a little bit so that you're not constantly, turning the gears in your brain of, what are we going to be eating? Do we have the ingredients for that thing? Do I need to go to the grocery store? All of that stuff is already taken care of and you've planned ahead. You've gone to the grocery store ahead of time. So you can just be free to do other things with your life or, focus your brain on other things. So I think there's that to me, there's a big piece of like mental clarity and mental freedom that comes along with meal planning.
Oh, I love that. I really, really love that. The summer holiday is coming, and it's going to be my first summer holiday with my son at home for like 2 months. And I think whenever we have any conversation is about, so what are we going to eat today? What are we cooking? And if I can figure out breakfast, which is like oatmeal and different fruit and whatever, then you have the lunch, and lunch is always, okay, I don't want this and I don't want this. And this one has green color in it. So I'm not doing green right now. And then there is lunch, and then there is dinner, and they're like snacks. So the whole day kind of revolves around food. So I think that the idea of getting my brain back, yeah, that sounds quite incredible. Who is your like typical customer?
I wouldn't say that our typical customer is a very specific person, as far as they're definitely a mom or they're definitely a, young working professional. Our typical customer is just somebody who is a planner. They like to plan. They like to be organized. Not that all meal planning needs to revolve around being a planner or being organized, but our specific system is more geared towards somebody who already does the work of meal planning and they're trying to find a more efficient and reliable system for meal planning. So we really focus on, we are meal planning tools that are built for a planner personality. So it's the people who like to, write out their schedule. They like to know what's happening ahead of time. And like I said, they might already be doing the work of meal planning, or they know that they should be doing the work of meal planning. But maybe they're doing it with pen and paper and it takes them a long time, or maybe they've made this really complicated spreadsheet on their own and they want just a way to kind of simplify the process and make it faster and more efficient. So that's kind of where we gear most of our things towards, is the planner personality, and not so much on, they're a man or a woman or a mom or, people without kids. We don't focus as much quite on those demographics.
I see. So basically you're looking for a personality type that is more of a planner. I think I'm a planner. How would I know if I'm a planner? I think I am, but I kind of want to make sure that.
That's a really good question. I would say, are you motivated by your schedule? Are you motivated by time? And if you don't know your schedule, or you don't know how much time something's going to take, does it make you feel anxious?
Oh, bingo.
Yeah.
Ding, ding, ding. I think this is a really good way to see it. Oh my God. Oh, yes. All right. Yes, I'm definitely a planner. And I think one of the craziest things with kids is whatever you're planning, there is like plan A and then there is plan B.
Yeah.
And then you have to like think on your toes. I think that's also kind of a big thing. But I like the idea of planning and just knowing that this probably will change. But I think it gives me
Hmm.
some kind of reassurance that I know what's coming. So let's say I'm interested in saving some more brain capacity and freeing some of my time because I am a person who, but I even make more complicated than like
Mm.
spreadsheet. I have like a Notion page with like videos and recipes. And when I just open that Notion page, I get exhausted because I'm like, I don't know what I'm gonna pick now, and I'm not sure. Wait, what am I missing in the fridge? It's like, oh, forget it. Yeah. So this is what a typical day would look like for me. So where do I start?
With a system like with our system with Plan to Eat, we recommend our system involves a online recipe book, an on-plan meal planning calendar, and then a digital shopping list. And the shopping list is automatically generated for you once you start creating meal plans. So the first place that we recommend people starting is just getting your recipes into a program that you trust. So particularly and getting your recipes all in the same format. Like if you have recipes that are like, some of them are just pictures of a recipe and some of them are actually typed out and other ones are videos, having them all in a format that's actually usable is really important for getting started, because if you have to watch a 20-minute video before you know all the ingredients that you need for that recipe, well, that's kind of a waste of time. So, getting all of the things into a usable format, is like the best place to start. So, with our program, we have this really handy thing that's called a recipe clipper. And when you're in your web browser, it just lives in your bookmarks bar. And so when you go to a recipe website, you can just click on it and it automatically imports all that recipe data into your Plan to Eat account so that you can then use that recipe in your meal plan, and you don't have to do your own work of transcribing all of the recipe ingredients and all that kind of stuff. And we have one for our mobile app as well that works the same way, that like if you're in a mobile browser, you can just click on it and it'll import the recipe data for you. So that kind of stuff is honestly, it's super easy, and it's a super efficient way to get your recipes like into your recipe book. But just in general, like even if you don't want to use a system like Plan to Eat, if you can get all of your recipes just, into a notes app, or, like if you like spreadsheets, you can get them all into a spreadsheet. Just having them in a usable format, I think, is the most important part to get started, because like I said, if you're taking them from multiple different things, it's much harder to then have them be usable and, make a shopping list out of the things that you need and that kind of stuff.
Oh, I think you're so right because most of my recipes, some are video, some are written, but I never have this list of all the ingredients that I need to buy. So, what would be a good amount of recipes, for instance, to start with? Is there like a magic number that I should start with?
We don't have necessarily a magic number, but we do think that if it's like with our program, because you can import recipes so quickly, we try to tell people when they first get started, like just spend an hour and go to your favorite recipe websites and just start importing recipes. And in an hour, there's a good chance that you can get 20 or 30 recipes added into your recipe book. So it kind of depends on the individual. I personally like that like 20 to 30 number to get started.
20 to 30. Okay.
Yeah. And it depends on the individual, because some people are like, well, we have 5 recipes that are our recipes that we love, and we always eat these same 5 recipes. So, if you're somebody who's not as interested in variety, potentially fewer recipes could still work for you. But I think starting with kind of this baseline of 20 to 30 recipes is really good, because you have enough variety to be able to pick recipes that your family is going to eat and love, but you're also not like overwhelmed because you have, 100 recipes to choose from.
Oh, absolutely. I feel like there are like seasonal recipes,
Mm.
and yeah, because in the Netherlands, it's always kind of raining But then in the summer, you don't really want to eat a lot of heavy food. So I would do like a classification between like stews and things
Mm-hmm.
that are really kind of like pots and whatever, and more of a lighter thing. And it's really funny because I was reading a lot when my son was born. I was reading a lot how to get your kid more interested in different food, different cultures, and everything. And they said, oh, the most important thing is before they turn 2, give them all the variety, let them try everything, because then they're familiar with this food. And after they turn 2, they will be eating it like in a more kind of willing way. So I gave my kid everything. And now he's 4.5. And the only thing he wants to eat is fish sticks, sushi, pasta, and sometimes pizza, unless it has like a vegetable on it. And of course, there is always like a color theme to it. So if it's
Mm-hmm.
this color, then he's not eating it. If it's different color. So my recipe book is also kind of based on his whims. Because my objective is to get him to eat, not to kind of have a whole fight. All right, so 20-30 recipes. That's pretty cool. And you have a little widget that kind of clips all of my recipes, which is great.
Mm-hmm.
And what would be the next step?
So then after you have some recipes in your account, we have a online planner. It looks just like a calendar. And if you're on the website version of Planty, we have both a website and an app and one account. One account lets you use all of your account on all the places. And so you can just basically take your recipes when you're in the program. Your recipes are kind of on the sidebar, and then you have your big planner in the middle, and you can just drag recipes onto your planner. So you decide like on Thursday for dinner, this is a recipe we're going to eat, and you just drag it onto that day. And you can put as many recipes as you want on the planner. You can also add, like specific notes. So if you have, a night of the week where, say you go to your in-laws house for dinner or something and you don't need to actually make your own meal because they're going to be making dinner for you, you can type that in as a reminder. um, and so yeah, it's really simple. The process of actually making your meal plan is very simple. The most challenging part is just, choosing the recipes that you want to make. So yeah, you just take the recipes that you want to make and you just drag and drop them onto your planner, and then you've made your first meal plan.
When I decide to go to the gym and I decide, oh, this is my New Year's resolution. This is what I'm doing. So I immediately schedule like gym for 5 days a week.
Mm-hmm.
And I managed to go 1 week. And then I quit for another year. So what would be like a healthy amount of meals that I should plan for 1 week?
Yeah, so it depends. Once again, it depends on the individual. If you're somebody who's like starting to meal plan because it's like a new habit that you're wanting to get into, we recommend starting small. We recommend having, still, maybe, 2 dozen recipes in your recipe book. But as far as the actual planning process goes, we recommend just starting small and just maybe only planning like 2 dinners a week or maybe 3 dinners a week. Particularly if you're somebody who's not used to cooking frequently, don't overwhelm yourself with thinking like every single night we have to have this new and fantastic meal. You can choose really simple recipes. You can choose recipes you're already familiar with and add them to your planner. And it's like, getting into the habit of it. If you're just first establishing that habit is the most important part. And so starting a little smaller, getting comfortable with it, and also kind of having the realization of like, oh, because I had dinner planned already tonight, like that really did save me time and that really did save me some like brain drain. And so the more you kind of realize those like effects of how the positive effects of it, is going to actually help you want to plan more. But me personally, even like I am a planner and I meal plan every single week. A lot of times I still only plan like 3 recipes a week. And then I just, increase the serving size of a recipe so that it gives me leftovers for the next day. So I'm not having to cook every single night, which is really nice. I love to cook, but, sometimes you just need a little bit of a break, or sometimes you have a meeting that's going to go later into the evening and you're just not going to have time to cook a recipe. So you can also plan ahead. That's the best part about planning ahead, is that when you look at your schedule and you pick recipes that actually work with your schedule, then it just becomes a lot less stressful to get dinner on the table.
Did you notice a huge spike in new customers coming your way when the pandemic hit?
We did actually, yeah. Certainly with, restaurants being closed down, a lot of people who were, frequently going out to eat, then all of a sudden had to figure out like, how are we going to cook at home every single night? So we did see a big spike in customers, and we've actually maintained a pretty good level. I think a lot of people kind of like fell in love with meal planning once they were forced into it a little bit, and like realized that it was a really big benefit to them. So yeah, we definitely did.
It absolutely makes sense. I remember the first week of the quarantine, so we didn't know how long is it going to last, and I was so excited because I had my family at home and I was cooking, and it was really nice. And I had to work, but I kind of planned. We had lunches together, so not just dinners. That was quite incredible. And then I think on week 3 or 4, I got stuck because I didn't want to cook this much anymore. So I had 2 boys in the house and they were eating, like, it doesn't matter if it's like a gourmet dinner or it took me like 3 hours to make or half an hour, it's going to be finished.
Yeah.
So at some point I was like, okay, I don't think I can go the same pace again. So I felt like I needed some help, and I was researching, and there are so many different platforms and apps, and it's crazy. How do you pick the right one? Do you just try all of them, or is there uh, some hints for the treasure hunt?
Well, I think that, once again, it kind of comes down to this personality aspect, in that, a program like ours, it's really just ours. Our program is the tools to meal plan yourself. So, like I said, we're for that planner personality, that person who's kind of like a DIY. I like to have control and, do the process myself. And there's lots of other apps out there who will actually provide you with recipes, provide you with pre-made meal plans. So if you just want to get in to the habit of meal planning, but you don't really care the recipes, or you want somebody else to just make the decision for you of what recipes that you want to eat, there are plenty of other programs out there that do that. And so it is kind of, I think that it's mostly just, like you can just do a Google search and say like, which is the app that provides me recipes, like, or which is the app, if you eat like a specific eating style, like which is the app that has the best paleo recipes or something. And, like you can find those other programs out there. There's lots of them. A lot of them do, really similar things to what ours do, in the fact that, they, create a shopping list for you, so your shopping experience is a little easier. And then a lot of them are just, here's a list of recipes to eat this week. And I even saw one the other day that was much more geared towards meal prepping. So it was all about like, what can you do on Monday, like to prep all of these things for recipes during the week. And it kind of like helped you along with that process. So you can do something like that with our app as well. But once again, it's more geared towards the person who's like DIY and going to kind of figure it out themselves, rather than being told like, the recipes that you're eating this week are all chicken recipes, so you can cook all your chicken ahead of time or something like that.
That's really interesting, because I feel like when we were talking about the whole, you need to clear up your mind a bit. I think it's really hard to explain to a person who is normally just makes good decisions. But I think what happens to a parent, especially the first like 3 months when a child is born, is you're not sleeping and your schedule is completely off. You try to sleep while your baby's asleep, if that even happens. And then you also need to kind of figure out a time for you to eat. So
Mm-hmm.
that means you need to have food in the house. So that means you need to have ingredients. And then at some point, you open the fridge, it's like, oh my God, I don't even know. I don't know. Should I boil an egg? I have no idea. So it's a really funny thing. And also, I think all the taste, all the things that you like to eat before, they don't taste the same. So there is like a whole aspect of this, which is a bit crazy. And I think when you try to make all these decisions, you constantly think, wait, what should I buy? What should I eat? What should I make? And then you have to do it several times a day. I think it's just exhausting. And
Mm-hmm.
what you're offering here is a bit of a clarity, because how many recipes do we have? I don't think it's that. I don't think it's that many, and we can kind of shuffle them through. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
How does your week look like?
So I want to answer that, but I want to go back to just really quick. You talking about, like when you have a kid, particularly in those first couple of months. I don't have any children myself, but my coworker, who's also my co-host on our podcast, and she talks about this on our podcast a lot. She has a 2-year-old, and when she was still pregnant, she was like, she didn't know what it was like to be a parent yet, but everybody had told her like, your brain's going to be fried. You're going to be so tired. You're not going to want to think about things. So, like do yourself a favor right now and plan ahead. And so what she did in the months leading up to giving birth was she would actually, like double a recipe, and she would freeze half of it so that she had a bunch of like pre-made freezer meals for those first couple of months when she just knew that like they were going to be exhausted and not wanting to cook or thinking about going to the grocery store and stuff. So for anybody out there who needs that tip, just,
This is
double your recipes and
brilliant.
freeze half of it so that you can just pull something out of the freezer and heat it up.
Oh my God. I wish I had this advice when my first kid was born, because I was still figuring it out. Wait, how do I get to the supermarket? Because he's
Mm,
asleep, and what do I do? And then it was the whole supermarket online, like in apps. It just kind of started, and you had like a crazy amount for the minimum order. So I would
mm,
order this crazy amount of food, and then there was a lot of waste, and it was crazy. Now it's so much better. Now you can order like minimum orders, but yeah, you can prepare before, because it's only I had the arrogance of older parent. So I had
mm,
my kid when I was 34, and I figured everything out. Obviously, I figured everything out. I didn't need any help. Everything was clear. The advice I was getting was like, oh, this is so obvious. Of course, but of course. And what do you mean I'm not going to sleep? My partner is going to have some of the time with a baby, and I'm gonna rest. And I didn't know the pain of like the physical pain. So you can sleep over 3 hours. I wasn't aware of that. That was a fun surprise. And then it was suddenly kind of it dawned on me that, oh, you keep solving problems as they come. And
mm.
I am a planner. So for me, the level of anxiety of not having a plan was sort of overwhelming. So yeah, I think it's a great tip. So what is the name of your podcast, and what is the name of your co-host?
Okay, so the podcast is the Plan to Eat podcast, and my co-host name is Riley. So
Riley.
we both work on the marketing team here at Plan to Eat, and we're also really close friends. So it's a fun podcast to do together.
I'm gonna check it out, because feeding a 2-year-old, that's interesting. That's really interesting. So what does your week look like?
I mostly just plan ahead for dinners. In my meal plan, we usually plan dinners, and then I'll increase the serving size so that we can have them for lunch the next day often. And then breakfast is a little more automated for us. It's either things like smoothies or it's just like eggs. And so a lot of times those are just like individual ingredients that I will add to my shopping list. And I just add them kind of on a recurring basis because we kind of eat the same things for breakfast. So like I said, a lot of times I'll just plan, like I might plan a dinner like Monday, Wednesday, and Friday and increase the serving size enough so that we have leftovers both for lunch and for the dinner the following day. And personally, I like to eat simple recipes. And for me, a simple recipe is it has a small ingredients list and it doesn't take very long to cook. So I really like, I think I said this earlier, I really enjoy cooking. But like a lot of times by the end of the day or by the end of like my last meeting of the day or something, I don't have time to spend an hour and a half in the kitchen cooking an extravagant meal. So yeah, so we choose things that are pretty simple. My husband often also works kind of late. So since I work from home, I'm usually the person who cooks dinner because I just, can leave my desk and go to the kitchen.
Absolutely.
um, but yeah, and so we eat meat and we eat vegetables, so those are kind of the two things that we always incorporate into our meals. Is we have some kind of protein and vegetable, and yeah, we eat lots of tacos.
Oh, tacos are
we
wonderful.
Yeah, we eat lots of salads. So yeah, it's just we do our best to plan ahead so that it's just dinner is easy and not something that we're worried about. And then, we usually my husband really likes to go out to eat to restaurants, but we usually try to save that for weekends. So
All right. So during the week, you plan for like 3 meals, sort of. And then
mhm.
sometimes you increase the serving size. So you'll have a bit of a leftover, which is super cool. And then weekends, you can plan to go to the restaurant. So then you don't have to cook too much. I think this is brilliant. This is really nice. Do you have like your go-to recipe when you want to kind of spoil yourself?
Let's see. So I have a go-to recipe that is actually still a really easy recipe, and I can share the link with it. I share the link with you. And it's called chicken meatballs with roasted carrots and then a lemon yogurt sauce. And
All
so
right.
you just like slice carrots into sticks and put them in the oven to roast them, and then you make meatballs out of ground chicken, and the meatballs has like chives in it and masala seasoning, so it kind of has that little bit of like warm masala flavor. And then while those things are baking in the oven, you just mix together yogurt with lemon, so like plain, not flavored yogurt, plain yogurt
Yes, of
with
course.
lemon and a little bit of salt, and then you kind of assemble it all together, and you can put some arugula on top. And it is such a good recipe. It's a recipe that I recommend to everybody because it is really simple to make, but it has like the lemon and the masala and it's a really great recipe, and I love it.
It sounds amazing. I'm going to link it also in the show notes. I think there is something about this lightness, of
Hmm.
yogurt. And for us in the Netherlands, it's always raining. So it's sort of like a wintry atmosphere. So whenever the sun is out, I would do like a salad with maybe like a strawberry in it, mint,
Mm.
something that is super light. In your app, what I noticed, there is like this human touch that it's not like, it doesn't feel like this giant corporate stands behind it. How did you manage to get this feeling?
Our founder, he started the company about 13 years ago, and he basically created the program because his wife was a meal planner, and they had 2 kids. They have 4 kids now, but they had 2 kids at that point in time, and so they were doing that thing where they were like, okay, we're trying to feed a bigger family. We kind of have to like get better about meal planning. And her real motivation was that she wanted to become a better cook. And so she was like, I want to try out different flavors. I want to try out different recipes. And the process of, like scanning through recipe book after recipe book, or, saving all your little bookmark recipes on your computer and then actually handwriting a shopping list it took a ridiculously long time, particularly the writing the shopping list. And then inevitably, you might handwrite your shopping list. You might actually get all the things on your shopping list, but your list isn't organized in the way that your store is organized. And so you're looking at your list and you're trying to read through the whole thing to make sure you get everything in the produce aisle so you don't have to walk back and forth a whole bunch of times. Now, if you do delivery, that's a little bit easier and a little bit different. But like not every place offers delivery. Some people still have to go to the grocery store. I still have to go to the grocery store. I live a little ways out of town, so um, anyways, and so it was just him running the business for quite a few years before he started hiring employees. But we're still a really small company. There's only 6 of us who work for the company, and we really value our customers, and we don't have investors, so we've never taken outside money to fund the company. It's all been everything has been supported by our customer subscriptions, and so that really allows the customers to like basically have a say. Like it allows our customers to give us feedback and to give us feature requests, and we actually listen because we want it to be the best product for our customers. So I think some of these elements of like we've always kind of stayed small. We've never taken investors, and we really listen to our customers. Like that helps us really have a human aspect when it comes to our interactions with people. Like we don't outsource any of our support. We don't have robots. It's real people who are answering emails, real people who are creating the features, real people who write all the emails, and it's just the six of us who do all of these things. So, yeah, I think this just be I think that larger companies can still maintain a humanness in their businesses, but it does get harder the bigger that you grow. And so there's a bit of an advantage to being a small company in that way, in that we can kind of have this human feeling, this almost like local feeling, where hopefully people, they get to know our faces through, our emails or social media or something, and they know that when I reply to their email, they're like, oh, it's Roni.
Oh, that's really nice. And they get to hear your voices also. So I
Mm-hmm.
think it's really important. And I think it's so nice that somebody creates a product they wish they had
Mm-hmm.
like before. I think this is the most valuable thing because there's so many people who are really struggling with their time and the decision making. And when my son was born, I would order a lot of food from this local supermarket called Albert Heijn. I think there is one in the US as well, and the minimum order would be like 70 euros, and that's honestly that's too much because the fridges
Mm-hmm.
are pretty small, the Dutch houses are pretty small, and I had to cook quite a lot because I didn't want this to go to waste, so I would freeze a bit, but it was a lot of work. So when my girl was born, we switched to this amazing service of like farmers. It's like a network of farmers, and they bring you all the products. They're fresh, they're wonderful. You can change your shopping list the day before. It was great. So theoretically, it saves you a lot of time, right? But actually, I would keep changing my mind about what I'm going to cook. So I would go into the app, especially in the evening, like before bed. Oh, I should get this and I should do this. And then, oh, wait, I don't actually want to make this and I don't want to do this. And I would waste so much time. So I think the whole idea of getting the groceries doesn't matter if it's a supermarket or whatever. I don't think that solves the time problem. I
Yeah.
think getting the recipes and, like you said, having like your go-to list with all the ingredients, so you don't have to watch the 20-minute video, because that's what I do also. Like every time, wait, let's pause, and then I would write it down on a piece of paper. Yes, yes, that's crazy. Is there any story you can share with me about one of your customers, about their kind of journey and how it maybe changed their whole schedule, or maybe from the founder's story, something that they usually share?
Well, I guess I can tell you both. So a little bit more about the founder's story is, so yeah, he actually was already a website developer and a coder, so he already had those skills. And so when his wife was, having these struggles with her meal planning taking too long, his initial thought was like, it was still, in the late 2000s. It was like 2009. So it was like there were quite a few things available on the internet, but not like today. There wasn't app stores on your phone and all that kind of stuff. And so his initial thought was like, well, I'll just do some, web searching and we'll find a solution to this. There's got to be somebody who's already doing something that makes an automated grocery list for you or whatever. And to his surprise, they didn't find anything. And so that was kind of the thing that kind of initiated him being the person who created this program, is that when he first started 13 years ago, there wasn't anybody else who was in this space creating this type of a product. Now, like I said, there's dozens of apps out there that you can choose from, but initially it wasn't, digital meal planning really wasn't that popular. So yeah, so that was kind of his thing. And originally he just made it so that it was easier for his wife. And then when she started having so much success with it, he was like, well, maybe some of my friends could enjoy this. And then once his friends started enjoying it, he kind of just eventually was like, I guess I'm going to just make this available to everybody. And in order to do that, I have to, start charging money for it. So that was a whole big scary process, but it has worked out really well. But as far as some of our customers go, we do have one customer story that was shared with us recently, who she's a single mom and she has 6 children. So
What?
she's,
Oh my God,
I know. So
6.
she obviously has her hands incredibly full. And once again, she was a planner, and she was doing some meal planning and stuff before she found Plan to Eat, but it was just totally inconsistent. She would forget to she would forget to write out her plan, or she would leave her shopping list at home. And, having so many kids, it was really hard to consistently buy enough food to be able to feed all of the kids. And so, yeah, basically after she found Plan to Eat, it kind of just like revolutionized it for her, because she could create a meal plan. Excuse me. She could create a meal plan that only took a few minutes in her week. She could increase serving sizes to be able to serve 7 people, because, a lot of recipes on the internet are only made for 4 people or something,
Absolutely.
And so having the ability to just type in a new number, and you don't have to do all the math yourself to calculate in quantities, was like a really big deal for her. And so, yeah, it just kind of revolutionized it. And the nicest thing that she told us is that it was able, she said, like, her time with her kids was so valuable, and just taking this weight off of her shoulders was able to give her back a lot of that time to be able to spend with her kids as they got older. So that's that means a lot to us when we hear things like that from people.
That sounds amazing. I can't even imagine going to the supermarket with my 2 kids, because everyone wants something, and then I completely forget what did I come here for. That's how I started ordering online when everybody's asleep. Okay, there is quiet, and I can think calmly, what is it that I need? Yeah, but this is really cool. I wish I knew about this service like 4 years ago. And definitely I'm going to start using it now, because my girl is starting to eat proper food. So it's no longer like milk and, fruit purees. It needs to be like a proper meal plan. So I think it's really nice. Are you planning to also add some sort of like recipe inspirations, or is there like a blog of the most, you can vote for like different recipes? Because sometimes I get so tired of whatever it is that I'm cooking.
Yeah, one of our things is that we don't automatically provide recipes for people's accounts. However, we do have a section in the program that's called Challenges. And I think it was in like 2018, we ran multiple food and cooking challenges through our program. And so we basically paid a bunch of bloggers to write recipes for us. And then we had challenges with our customers to be like, make these recipes and post pictures of it on social media and that kind of stuff. And so we actually, we've kept all of those recipes because we paid for them to be written for us. And so they live in this section that's called the challenges, the cooking challenges section. And so even if it feels intimidating to you to go to a program and you're like, well, there's no recipes and that I don't know where to start, you can always go to the cooking challenges section. And you can go through, there's, I think, like 200 recipes in there or something.
Ooh, right.
All sorts of different appetizers, lunch, dinner, snacks, all sorts of things. So you could always start there, and you can use those recipes just like they're your own recipes, and make meal plans out of them and stuff. So that would be a cool place to start.
Absolutely. And I love the idea of it being a challenge,
Yeah.
because I like that, like a bit of a twist. Yeah, I can do it. I bet I can do it.
Yeah.
This is so nice. Roni, I'm so happy that you took the time and we got to talk, because this is really, it makes such a huge difference on these daily things. And I'm thinking that, kids are rarely remember all the meals that you make for them. They don't really remember day by day, but they get the general atmosphere. If mommy is exhausted because she has to cook, you kind of feel like it. And if there is always something that is kind of planned and organized, and then maybe not for the meal itself, but just for the peace of mind, I think this is like the most important thing that you can gift to a new parent. So really, thank you so much. I'm going to link to your website at the show notes. And this has been a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Well, I hope you enjoyed this episode as much as I enjoyed making it for you. I would like to invite you for a very special adventure. Kids learn about the world through stories, right? And I help parents just like you to make your story the bedtime book your kids ask to hear before bed. If you're up for the challenge and want to connect your kids to your kids through storytelling, you should visit Better Bedtime Stories It's one word, betterbedtimestories.nl, like Netherlands, because I'm based in Rotterdam. And sign up for the email challenge. See you next time.